the whole Kashmir thing. So I can summarize it, but it's gonna be a very like crude summary. So when the maybe I can just go to this version. No, not this one. Yeah, here. That way I still have my camera, and now you can see everything. So that's good. Yeah, I know something. So this is just a crude version, but when the British basically won World War II, they were done. Like their empire was basically done. They couldn't hold off their colonies anymore. So they were just everyone like was just going free left and right. In that sense, like anyone who was left, like of course all the others had left before. So in India, Pakistan, there was like a struggle going on between some people who thought that there should just be a free India, and then some people who wanted like a separate state for Muslims because they said that the Hindus oppressed them. And the major Muslim party was called the Muslim League. And hey Koopa, the stupid British every time. Uh, so the party was what do you call it? The Muslim League. It wasn't like really for an independent, like it wasn't called Pakistan back then, but a new country for the Muslims. But then in like I think it was some late 30s, the Congress, which was the major Hindu party or the secular party, if you will, it was Hindu but it's also secular, so you can go either way. So that got to rule for 2 years or something. The British let them rule, and during that time, a lot of Muslims were oppressed. Like there was weird stuff going on, and because of that, a lot of leaders in the Muslim League who were like against a new nation got disillusioned with India. So they said, okay, we need a new nation. And there are these like small movements and sort of this idea of having a separate nation, it being called Pakistan because of the regions that would be in it. And when the Brits left, basically a mad dash started. Like some states wanted to be independent, but Pakistan and India weren't going to let them. So there was like a place called Hyderabad in India that wanted to be independent. And there was a place in Balochistan that wanted to be independent, but where Pakistan had power, they seized the lands, and where India had power, they seized the lands. And Kashmir was sort of different because the population was majority Muslim, and the ruler was a Hindu, and he wanted it to be independent. But it like everyone knew that wasn't going to happen, and it was like at the border that the British had set between Pakistan and India. It was like right at the north of it. So this area here, and then this is Pakistan, this is India. So they knew that it wasn't going to happen. So the population wanted Pakistan to take over. The ruler wanted India to take over. So the ruler, without consulting anyone, went to India and told them that I'm going to sign a treaty. Kashmir is going to be in India. And they went to so India was like, okay, Kashmir is ours. They started moving in. And then the Pakistanis like got wind of that, and then they started moving in. So from this side, India was coming in, and from this side, Pakistan was coming in. And sort of where they meant, like the quickest one who could capture the land was just taking up Kashmir, and then it just a natural sort of border developed between where India was, the Indian army was, and the Pakistani army was. Then the UN was like, okay, you're not gonna just start fighting each other. So there were like some peace talks and everything, and they developed like a line of control. basically the parts that Pakistan had taken, Pakistan was going to manage for a while. And the parts that India had taken, India was going to take for a while. But the main goal was that the Pakistani army and the Indian army would move out after that. The UN peacekeeping, like a UN peacekeeping mission, was going to stay, and then there was going to be a vote, a plebiscite, and the Kashmir people will decide India, Pakistan, or independence. But the way the treaty was designed was a bit strange, because it didn't say that both of them would move out together. It said first the Pakistani army will move out, then the Indian army will move out, and then the vote would happen. Sir, this is a Wendy's. And so because of that, I mean, they weren't going to do it anyways. It's just an excuse. They had an excuse. So India had the excuse that since Pakistan never moved out, it's not India's fault. And then Pakistan had the excuse that if we move out, then India's just going to take over the rest of the rest of the area, and we should just move out together and let the Kashmir people decide. So in that sense, both nations weren't good, but Pakistanis were like, okay, let the Kashmirs decide, because they're a Muslim nation, so either they're gonna choose independence or Pakistan. But India knew that they're gonna lose Kashmir, and it sort of became this issue that never got resolved. And then years later, this sort of mythology developed in India about just holding on to Kashmir. And the same happened in Pakistan. But in Pakistan, there were also some practical reasons, because a lot of rivers that are in Pakistan, that supply water to Pakistan, they start either from India or from Kashmir. So if they gave up Kashmir, then India would have all control of all of the rivers in Pakistan, which is a terrible place to be in that sense. And India was already building dams and everything, and there was a lot of problems about that as well. So it's this ideological struggle and this practical struggle as well. And I don't think it will get resolved. At best, it just becomes the border stays where it is, and it becomes the official border. But they'll always have their excuse to fight now, forever. Not forever, I mean, but as for the foreseeable future. And that sucks. So and since India was since the Kashmir, even in India, there were more Muslims. There was a lot of freedom fighting going on, and since Pakistan was Muslim and the Kashmirs are Muslim, and they were they just left the people alone for the most part. They didn't do much, because Kashmir wasn't fighting as hard against Pakistan as the people, as it was against India. So that's why India is more oppressive. Whereas in Pakistan, the area that didn't want to be part of Pakistan, and wasn't really part of India ever, my area, Balochistan, fights with Pakistan, and the Baloch are oppressed in Pakistan. So that's how it happened. That is a very crude summary. There's a lot of other stuff, but that's all the other stuff is details and ideologies and thinking and some terrorism, some freedom fighting, a mixture of both, and a lot of mess. Right now, currently, India says that Pakistan trains terrorists and sends them to Kashmir. And then Pakistan claims India trains terrorists and funds them in Balochistan to create instability in Pakistan. And that's just how it is. I hope that's a good summary, Mooch. And it makes sense.